Hi guys, this is Kaika again. I feel like I haven't talked to you guys for a very long time, maybe more than a year. Well, I don't really do vlogs like this. But anyway, I have time today and decided why not? So I'm here with a video to share with you guys how to get good cosplay event photographs. I'm talking specifically about pictures that you take randomly by random photographers at the cosplay events. So I'm not talking about a specific photo shoot that you arrange with a photographer. So yeah, so the difference here is you will be contained in a convention hall environment, and since you don't know the photographer, so there is very limited thing that you can plan ahead or you can discuss with that particular photographer. It can be a professional photographer with like professional gears, or it can be just a random guy with his cell phone. Of course, these are not like mandate Bible laws. It's just some suggestion that I can give based on my experience of going to events with my camera. So you guys know I cover cosplay events as a photographer more than going to the event as a cosplayer. So I've been to many events and taken many pictures of cosplayers who I think are awesome. They have really good cosplays, but sadly it just doesn't translate to pictures. Of course, there are more tips out there, and if you have your own tips, feel free to comment at the comment section below. But this is just the general ones that I think are really easy to achieve, but they create like maximum impact. So without further ado, let's start. The first thing I would recommend you to do is to have perfect makeup and wig. I know it sounds like such a, I don't know, it's like duh, like hi car, of course I'm gonna have perfect wig and cosplay and makeup, blah blah. But the thing is, what I see a lot of cosplayers, they have awesome wig and cosplay, but their makeup is too light. You have to take into consideration that when you cosplay, your makeup has to be cosplay makeup. It cannot be your everyday normal makeup. It needs to be like 2 levels above, because the wig, the costumes, and the light, it's all taking attention away from your face. So you really need to pump all that features and all that colors back in with makeup. And usually pictures always turn out better when I have more makeup on my face. And it also minimizes the need to Photoshop after that. And we all know that at event pictures, you can't really Photoshop your photos before it goes online, because sometimes you don't know who is taking your picture, right? I mean, it's just a random photographer. So you have no chance to Photoshop your pictures afterwards. So it's better to make sure that you have more makeup on your face, because the camera is going to take most of the colors away anyway. And of course, to make sure your wig looks, nice 360 degrees, because again, you can't Photoshop your pictures after that. If you have a big face issue, like you feel that your face is too big, because anime characters, they have tiny faces. One little tip that you can do is to stick your fringe, these two sides, to your face. This is me without any fringe on the side, and this is me. Ta-da! See, I look so much thinner, right? You can use eyelash glue to stick the fringe to the side of your face, and your face will instantly look smaller. It's not gonna be comfortable, trust me, but it creates the best impact on pictures. And regardless of whatever angle you turn your head towards, you still look like you have a nice, really sharp, small face. My second tip is to make your cosplay fit. I know it sounds like a common sense, but I see a lot of cosplayers who just buy their costumes. There's nothing wrong with buying your costume. There's nothing wrong with it. But at the very least, you should try and make the costume fit you. It's bought off the shelf, so it doesn't necessarily fit everyone's body shape perfectly, but I think you should at least try to make it fit you proportionately. The thing is, you can have an awesome costume, but if it doesn't fit you, like it's too big or it's too small, it still looks bad. Now the third tip is to iron your costume. It's probably a common sense again, but some cosplayers, you can obviously tell that they took the costume up from a plastic bag and just put it on themselves. And I it just ruins the costume. I mean, how much effort would it take for you to iron a costume? Unless you tell me that for some reason you have no access to an iron because they don't provide it in the hotel or something like that. But you know, worst come to worst, just get a flat iron, hair straightener and straighten most parts of the costume, or iron it before going to the convention and put it in one of those costume hanger to protect the costumes. Well, basically, not ironing your costume just tells me like you don't feel like you need to put in this effort to present your cosplay the best that it can be. It can be an awesome costume. You put in all the effort to get all the trims and all the gems and all the colors and all the expensive materials, but you don't iron it. So I don't understand that. I mean, so the tip iron a costume, it makes a very, very big difference. Of course, I'm not trying to say that if you don't iron a costume, you are a bad cosplayer. You can just be going to the event to have fun. So I guess the pictures doesn't really matter much to you. But if you want to have good pictures, you need to iron your costume, because most of the time, if the costume is not ironed, and it depends on the fabric really, and it looks wrinkly, then it will look bad on the pictures, and there's nothing much you can do about that unless you manually Photoshop it. Then again, it's a it's a convention. You might not necessarily know the photographer. Now, fourth tip is to practice your poses. I have been to many cosplay events, and there are many awesome cosplayers with really nice hair, makeup, wig, everything. But when I ask for pictures, they just like stand there, and the poses just doesn't bring an impact. And as a photographer, there's really nothing much that I can do except sometimes I try to direct them and ask them to do different poses with their weapons or. But not every cosplayers like being told what to do. So I think if you want to have a good pictures of yourself, make sure you practice your poses in front of the camera. Make sure the poses are relevant. So try to plan different types of poses, some for portrait shots like the upper body, or some for full bodies, because you might not necessarily always have the space to take a full length photo of yourself. So sometimes the photographers can only take like your top half of you. So yeah, you're working in a very tight, constrained space in event hall. Practice your poses, make sure they look good on you. I don't know if this makes sense, but sometimes 2D characters, they make impossible poses or they make impossible expressions that look awesome on them. Like Haruhi always had this like pose where she pulls her eyelid down and she yeah. Anyway, you get what I mean. And some of the girls, they have like an armpit pose, which I think it's hard to pull off in real life. It is also very dependent on whether the photographer knows how to catch your angle, and sometimes the expressions are physically hard to pull off and hard to look good in. So if you have a problem with that particular expression or that particular pose, then don't do it at conventions, because there's no like second chance. The picture is taken, and if you look ugly, you just look ugly. So feel free to modify and have alternatives of poses. Just make sure you present yourself good. Or something about posing. If there's any tip that I can impart to cosplayers, and that is to make sure your fringe doesn't cover your eye, unless your character specifically requires you to, because the eye is really the window to our soul, and cosplay photography is very much about character portrayal. It's very much about displaying the emotion of that particular character, and sometimes it's difficult to portray the emotions correctly if your eyes are covered. So you know, sometimes it just, yeah, so you get my point. And the last tip is very similar to the tip about the fringe. It is to try and have eye contact with the camera. Sometimes when you have like a photographer wall and you don't know who's taking pictures of you, it might be difficult. But what I'm trying to say is try to have an eye contact with different cameras. If you know, you have to be observant of the photographer's body language, whether they are, you know, ready to shoot you or anything like that. But when I cosplay at events, I try my best to entertain each different photographers and have them have pictures of me looking at their camera. The reason for this is, like I mentioned, cosplay photography is very much about character portrayal. So if you can have an eye contact with the camera, what that translates to is you can have better eye contact with whoever that's looking at the picture. So you can better translate the emotions of the character. Of course, this is not a hard and fast rule for every single cosplay photos, but for general event pictures, I think it's something that pretty much works for almost every other portrait shots. Of course, sometimes you can have nice pictures of yourself looking away and just posing, and you know, it depends on how the photographers want to take the picture, but what you can do as a cosplay is to give them your attention and, you know, have a few shots of yourself looking at the camera. So I think that pretty much sums up all I want to say about achieving good event photographs. Posing and making use of your props and weapons, that's like an entire video by itself, and I'm not sure if I am qualified enough to teach, but I just decided I should share this video with you guys because I've been to so many events and I've seen so many cosplayers with good costumes, good cosplay, but like I mentioned in the beginning, it doesn't translate to pictures, and I just feel like, you know, they look so good in real life, but the pictures just like doesn't do justice for their cosplay. So I hope you find this video useful. Feel free to leave a comment. Make sure you like, subscribe. I kind of don't remember where the buttons are, but yeah. Bye!